Bonsai bloke here, how you going?
Today I thought we could work on this Jack maple. It's pretty well lost all its leaves. We had a fairly severe frost a week or so ago, so it's finally lost all its leaves, which is a perfect time on a Jack maple to work on them. You don't want to be cutting in spring because then they bleed too much. Perfect time is just after they lose their leaves and go dormant. You quickly cut them while the sap flows down a bit, and then come spring you don't have to do anything. All you got to do is repot it if you want to repot it, and then watch it grow. But I think some people do pull the tips out anyway. I'll have to have a look at that a bit later on, see what I'm meant to be doing. But I've only got the one maple. It's normally too hot for maples where I live, but this one seems to go okay, so I'll keep it. This here started out as a little seedling, or a little cutting, probably a fair few years ago now, probably 7 years ago. And I had it actually as a feature plant out the front of the house. Had it in a big terracotta pot. And then I thought I liked the base of it, so I I'm turning it into a bonsai. So I dug it out that terracotta pot, put it in here. It's been in here for a good 3 to 4 years now. So what I'm going to do is work on it tonight, cut it back, and then come spring I'm going to repot it, because there's a lot of weeds in here. Sort of keeping them down a bit, but you know, there's some weeds in here. Some of that Irish moss as well. So I'll repot it come spring, have a look at the roots. Possibly think about doing a root graft, although I don't really have any coral bark maple stock. I've only got the normal Jack maple stock, which might be okay for roots. You might not notice a difference in colour, but I'd really like to have it the same. See how we go. Anyway, I'll cut it back. So, cheers for watching. Oh, just before I get started, I just want to show you what happened on the weekend. On the weekend, I went to go and get a trampoline for the kids, and all sorts of dramas. I'll show you that now, and then I'll get back to the tree. Cheers. G'day. Well, this is my view, side of the freeway. Might be able to see a few cars going past. We've had a bit of a problem last night. Went to go and get the trampoline for the kids with a trailer. Blew out a tyre, didn't have a spare. So I turfed the trailer down the side of the freeway here, hoping it would be here the next day, and it still is. There's the old girl. Ended up putting the trampoline on the roof racks. So here's the old girl broken down. Absolutely shredded this tyre. I thought the car was surging. I thought it might have been running out of fuel, but it turns out this tyre absolutely wrecked the back guard. Absolutely shredded it. So I got a spare now. I'm going to put a new tyre on and then take it home. So anyway, that's the old dramas of Aussie Bonsai bloke. Gets a bit crazy at times. I'll just show you, it's not a bad spot to be stuck down in. Better try and drag that trailer up on my own as well. I don't have my mic on the camera, so it could be a bit noisy, but we'll see. You can see it's a beautiful spot to break down on. Have a bit of a look around. Should have brought my shovel, done a bit of digging, a bit of collecting on the side of the road. Hey, what's this here? Some friggin' littering fucking liberal. Littering liberal. What's his name? Corey Wingard. You arsehole, pick up your friggin' signs. like a big tree here fell over, maybe even onto the freeway. You have a look here. There's actually a path where it goes sort of up through there, or it goes that way. Not sure, but anyway, they've cut it up. Yeah, anyway, not a bad spot to be broken down in. Actually, here's a hawthorn. If I had a hawthorn? Yeah, I reckon it is. Maybe not. If I had a shovel, I could dig it up. Yeah, it is definitely a hawthorn. If I had a shovel, I could cut the top off of that, dig it up, take it home. No one will miss a hawthorn. They're a wild tree out here anyway. They're classed as a weed. Yeah, it would have been okay to dig anyway. I'll get back to fixing my trailer. I'll see you back at home. Cheers. Something a bit different in the video. Stuff you, Mr. Liberal. And let's get back to fixing the trailer. Well, I couldn't physically lift it up, so I got a strap attached to the tow ball. Back to the trailer. Still on the side of the freeway. So now I'm just going to pull this. It should halve the amount of pressure I have to put on. Just try not to fall back on the freeway. And it should pull the trailer up. Okay, it is coming. Let's make sure the tongue's not digging in. Okay, got it all back on, ready to race. No worries, cheers. Hey Leo. Hello. What's going on? Anyway, as you can see, here's a trampoline that I put up after I finally got it home and trailer's been sorted out. Dog's standing there looking pretty cute, wanting to play, but anyway, there's a trampoline. Well, good day, welcome back. Hope you had a bit of a laugh with the old trailer. Pretty funny, winching it back up the hill there. The old littering Liberal as well. Okay, so what happened with this tree this last summer, it actually put on some massive growth, right? But the problem is, because I didn't get to it in time, I had to cut a lot of that off. I did it probably back in January. I had to cut a lot of the big growth off because it got too fat and he ended up with these big fat knuckles, and I had to cut the whole entire branching off because I didn't get to it. Because, you know, Jap maples, they like to throw out, you know, 3 or 4 shoots, maybe even 5 or 6 from each location. So if you don't stay on them, you end up with fat knuckles everywhere, which is what happened to me. Okay, I've got to be honest, I was a bit lazy, didn't get to it. And the result is I had to cut it all off. So when I did cut it off, I got all this regrowth, but you can see it's quite thin little regrowth. Still not bad though for a few months. I could probably try and take some of these cuttings. I may even actually, I might give it a bit of a go. If I can get some of these cuttings to go maybe next year, not this spring, but next spring I might try and do some root grafts, we'll see. So I may, like I said, I may end up keeping some of these shoots and trying to get some new ones growing. Anyway, they're probably a little bit small, to be honest, for cuttings, but anyway, you know, it's worth a go. Might give it a go. Okay, so basically I'm just going to cut off wherever there's 3 or 4 or 5 from one location. I'm going to cut it back to 2. I'm going to keep the 2. 1, I've got to think about having it at an acute angle rather than a really wide angle, because a wide angle is not natural. Acute angle. Also opting for the fatter branching down lower and thinner stuff at the top. It's not so critical now because this tree is way underdeveloped, so as far as the size of them, a lot of these are fairly small anyway, so whichever one I pick, it's not really going to matter. So I'll just, all these crutches I'm going to cut a heap off. You can see it's sort of really, there's really a lot of shoots in the crutches here. Okay, cut it back to 2, there's 3 here, cut it back to 2. There's like 5 or 6 here. Cut it back to 2. I'm not going to wire any of these, they're too skinny. If I want to wire them, I'll wire them next year. Same here, this big one here ended up with 5 or 6 shoots. I'm only keeping the 2. Like I said, no wire. Another one here, chop that back. Chop all these little shoots back. Little dead knobs I'll cut off. Back to 2. Back to 2. Yeah, these things, you've got to really keep on these maples in the spring, you know, like when they shoot out 5 or 6, you should be straight on it and eliminating them back to 2 in each spot so that you get good growth on those 2. And then coming in fairly early on in the spring or mid-spring and chopping those 2 shoots back quite severely back to 1 or 2 nodes. Normally I talk about just chopping to your length that you need for the node, and this is still the case with a maple, although you'll probably find these maples, the length that you want is probably in the first node, because once you get away from the first node, they really do elongate pretty quickly. So you'll probably find it will be the first node that you'll cut back to more often than not with a maple. Yeah, and then just let that shoot out again, and then you might attack it 2 or 3 times during the spring and summer period. And then your last prune, you probably wouldn't want to do much later than, I don't know, I'd say maybe mid to late summer be probably your last prune you do, and then you do your next one as soon as it goes dormant in the autumn. They're a beautiful tree. They just, you know, my climate, it's a little bit hot for them, but having said that, this one seems to go okay. I don't know why, just must be the cultivar, not sure. So here I got 2, and one of them has a really long first internode out to here. That's the first internode. The other one has a shorter one. So I'll cut the longer one back, opting for the shorter one. And I'll leave little stubs on, I don't care, you know. And then they'll either die and fall off later, or I'll cut them off later. I don't really want to cut back too hard just in case it then dies back further. Although generally that's not the case. Generally it will heal itself over, no worries. Okay, so we're getting through it. We're like nearly halfway through already. There won't be a lot left. All this stuff in the crotch here, it's got to go. We can maybe keep one branch. I'll keep this one branch here, so that can become, well, yeah, I'll keep it for now. It can become a front branch, a top front branch. Chopped all them off. Got only 2 shoots left there, cut them back short. Now if I was, even after I pruned this in January, if I was to have selected the shoots that shot after I pruned it back in January, they would have been a lot fatter than this. Instead it shot 5 or 6 out of each location instead of the 2. So always just keep trying to go back to those 2 and you'll get quicker development of the whole tree. You don't want to leave more than 2, like I've said a lot of times. You end up with a bit of a knob, fat knob. Yeah, so I'm already getting close to finishing, believe it or not. Nearly done. Okay. Cut that one back. Okay, well, don't want these down here. Believe it or not, short amount of time, probably 10 minutes or so and we're done. Easy. Pretty easy video. Bit of an update on it. Some people have asked for an update on it. Like I said, I haven't done the root graft yet, and I was going to do that this last spring, and I probably won't do it again this spring because I'm going to keep some of these cuttings. Yeah, so I probably won't do the root graft again this spring because I really want to get some coral bark maple, so I might use some of these for cuttings, although to be honest they're too thin and I really don't like my chances of any of them working. You really need something a bit fatter than that. I'll try a couple, see what happens, and if they work and they grow not this spring but next spring, I'll do the root grafting. But basically root grafting, all you're doing is you're growing one of these little seedlings, cuttings. You'll get roots on the bottom, you'll shoot at the top, leave it for 1 year, growing into a plant or a tree. The next year you leave the roots on the bottom, bury the roots in the pot and drill a hole. Basically just drill a hole, thread graft it through the root and leave the roots of this little one in the ground, in the pot. And what will happen is it'll heal to this and it'll become the roots for this main tree. And that's all you got to do, you know, like you can do another one here if you want. One there, one there. So I'll try some, give it a bit of a go. Use some of these, otherwise I'll have to go and buy some seedling from the nursery. But anyway, we'll see what happens. I think that's about it for today. I'll give you a spin on the way out, give you a close up of the root base. The root base is not bad anyway, you know, so if I never graft onto the bottom, it's not the end of the world. But if I do, and they take, I think it'll improve it. So I probably will. I just got to wait till I get some actual coral bark maple seedlings going, because I really don't like, although I have some other maple seedlings, I really don't want to use a different variety and then have a different coloured root. It might only be very subtle, the difference, but you know, I'll know it's different. People will probably look at it and think, oh, it's a slightly different colour. So I really want to use the same stock, and if I can, from the same tree. You can see it's really red on the new foliage. The new branching or twigging is really red, and as it gets older, it actually gets this really white, sort of white looking bark on it. And some of the, you know, some people that want it to look really white, in the dormant season in winter, they'll actually spray it with a solution of diluted lime sulfur, which will actually really whiten up the trunk, and then when you get the new shoots pop out and the new leaves, it'll really, you know, add a big contrast between the leaves or the shoots and the old trunk. But the old trunk on this looks pretty good. Like I say, it's probably 8 to 9 years old, probably 8, and yeah, it's going pretty well. Alright, I'll give you a close up, a spin on the way out. Cheers for watching, Aussie Bonsai Bloke. Please like, share, subscribe, check out Instagram, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers. Okay, small bonus to this video. I'm going to just show you how I take cuttings. I work in a vineyard nursery, so we do cuttings all the time, growing grapevines. Excuse me. They're a lot easier to grow though. Basically, just below the node, I cut it. And at the top, just so you know which way's up, you cut it at an angle. So the top's at an angle, bottom straight, just below the node. And I'll do a few of those. Okay, another one. Try and get as fat as you can to a certain extent. After about 10 mil, probably 10 mil thick, you're starting to get to the limits. 20 mil, that's too thick for a cutting. Around 10 mil is the golden size for a cutting. So these things here, these are only 2 to 3 mil. They're ridiculous, and I actually don't believe they will root, but let's see what happens. I believe they'll all die. So mainly because of the size of them, I would say. You know, I'll try and choose some fatter ones like this one here. I'm just going to go through and cut a few. This one here, we got all this. I'm going to leave the whole lot. Hopefully it'll shoot. And yeah, just pick a few of the fatter ones. And if they don't root, they don't root. So I'll do that. And then what I'll do is I'll put them in sawdust or vermiculite, one of the two, which is moist with a tiny bit of chlorine just to keep the mold out. And then you can either let it slowly callus over and get some roots and shoots at room temperature. As you go into spring, it'll naturally do it. Or you can speed it up by putting it in a hot room or a hot house. Okay, so it's going to be just a quick video on the chlorine, the cuttings, and just how to put them in a pot, put them in a box or a container. So here we've got some water in here, pretty well half full. Put some bit of chlorine, just some pool chlorine. Give it a bit of a stir. That basically just kills bugs and whatever, so you don't get any mold in the in the sawdust or vermiculite mix, whatever you want to use. Okay, now here we've just got a old port cask. I'll put the bag in there. Okay. Okay, you see I've got the bag in there. All I want to do now, put some sawdust in the bottom. Bit more sawdust. Now I'll get me cuttings. And it doesn't matter whether the cuttings touch or not. That doesn't matter. Put your cuttings in. Might just cut the tops off a bit, they're a bit long. Okay, so I've got the cuttings in. Hope you can see that. Okay. Now I just want to cover them with some more sawdust. Just really cover them in there. Okay. Okay, so they've got the sawdust pretty well packed in now. Let's fill up. So these are my cuttings for the coal bark maple. This is pretty much how we do them at work with the grapevines, except generally we use vermiculite, but sawdust can work fine too. And then just a little bit of chlorine water, just enough to moisten it. You keep it a little bit damp, but not enough that it's waterlogged. So that's probably enough for that little container. You can feel a little bit of weight to it, but certainly haven't filled it up with water. As long as the moisture stays in, I'll do up the top. Okay. Then I'll tuck it all in. Put it to bed here in the port barrel, the port cask. What the hell did I do wrong there, Sammy boy? Okay, so I've tucked it to bed. It's in there. Then I'm literally just gonna sit it on top of this one. This is another one I did. This is of some Chinese quince. And I'm gonna sit on top of there, and I won't even look at that for another 2.5 months. And it'll naturally warm up and hopefully shoot in here, and then I'll plant it out when I'm ready. If it shoots. They are very thin though, so there's a good chance they won't, but then who knows. So I might see you in 2.5 months, guys. Please grow. Cheers.